What's up, everybody? I'm Albie13. Okay, let's look at the this new program that I've been working on. So now we can see. Well, first of all, where are we? Right. so so the goal of this program. Let me take us around a little bit so you can kind of see that we can kind of move around. We can look around to the left of us, to the right of us. We should have some objects here. Let's find our objects. Going around. Oh, look, there's an object, and surely there will be more. Indeed, there are more. All right, so we're in the preview mode right now. And so, um, what we have here is we have um, the ability to render out this scene to make it look more beautiful. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and access our menus and stuff. So let's bring in our menu. Here's a menu now. Some of this stuff requires a little bit of a manual resizing there, as you can see. Is that showing on screen? It is. Let me bring it over just a little bit. Resolution's just a little bit out of your view there. So there's that. And we have all kinds of options that you can see there, including sky, terrain, clouds in the sky. The sky deals with like the sun and the fog. I think this could, I mean, I actually think it's organized well, even though that's split. You'd think those would be together, but it helps you to. I actually really like how it is. Then we have water and snow options. So we have some stuff going on there. We're going to get to that. But let's go ahead and bring in our objects um, menu. Okay. Again, we need some refinement here, but we'll see that we can do some things. Let's put that in there and on the right. All right, so we have some objects that are spawned for us. We can actually look and see some of the stuff going on in here. We're not dealing with rocks right now or cylinders, but we're dealing with boxes of spheres. So let's go ahead and now I can go ahead and delete objects, and in fact, I'm going to delete one of them. Let's go ahead and delete the gold sphere, which looks yellowish on the left. So we're going to click our trash can, and that sphere will disappear just like that. Um, let's go ahead and look at our purple, what is called a monolith, and it's a cube under the boxes. I would probably call this cubes. Now, I want to move this around, so I'll use these things to move this thing around. But the thing is that to move the thing around, I have to reshape it. And so we don't have the full controls yet. But what you'll see is that I can kind of shape it, and then I can bring it up into the sky by enlarging it like that, okay? And so I want these objects to be in the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and, now the spheres work a little bit differently, but let's go ahead and bring that object to the sky like so. Now you can see that we're finding the depth in this program, that you can be operating this program and exercising a lot of control. Now we have spheres to deal with. Let's go ahead and now we're dealing with position, different from the size of the monolith. That works for the cube. It's going to be a little bit different for spheres, which makes sense to me. You can move the position of a sphere that exists in X, Y, and Z. And of course, you would expect that you'd be able to size it, and indeed you can. You can size it very large, and you can size it very small. This size is quite nice, and what you're seeing is you're seeing the sunlight being strong on one side with reflection, and we're creating a shadow on the other side. Creates quite an interesting scene here. So let's go ahead and take our final sphere, and you can rename these. I'm going to call this Sky Sphere because I'm going to leave that in the sky. But this one here is going to actually be called the Ground Sphere. So we're actually able to keep track and easily identify the objects that we have in our scene. Let's go ahead and bring this sphere larger, perhaps dig it into the ground and move it over a little bit, something like that, and over this way. Okay, there we are. We can collapse our menu just to look at the scene well. Now that we've done the beginnings of the objects, I feel like there is one more thing I want to cover on objects right now before I get to the other stuff, which is let's go to the purple box, our purple monolith. So we have material selection. We have white. We have red. You can see that we're doing that. We have a chrome effect that's not showing super well right now. When you render it, you're going to see a lot more of these effects. But we have a gold, we have a glass that requires more transparency. We actually have lighting effect there. We have a wood type, and we have leaves type, something like Minecraft. So let's go ahead and let's set this to Chrome for now to not be super distracting. We'll make this menu small. Now, when we look at the terrain, we can go ahead and we can just make our terrain disappear by disabling our terrain. And you see, we're in what looks like space, into the sky, I mean, and we don't have a terrain. But when we bring our terrain back in, we have a lovely button where we can randomize our terrain. So, in fact, what I want to kind of do is I want to look at our terrain a little bit more. All right, like so. And what we're doing here is we're going to randomize our terrain. And we're going to see an increase or decrease in height, and the scale, and the roughness of it. And it is going to go through some certain motions. We saw like one significant variation there. So you go through and you're looking for something to inspire you or something you like. Now, as this goes on further, we're going to have more options and things. We're going to have more subtle abilities for you to affect things. But right now, I like that this water is showing through. So now that our water has peeked through, let's go ahead and adjust our water level to show you what we can do. We can go ahead and raise that water level up in our terrain. It's quite nice, isn't it? It's not so dry. You feel like you're not parched anymore. So we're going to bring that water up and create a water world. Let's go ahead and do that. Quite interesting, isn't it? Now let's go ahead and bring that back down, and let's create our lake. We kind of have a lake, and we have some green effect. Now, what about if I adjust our terrain height? We can go into the mountainous style, or we can go down. We can see that we can actually lower, and our peaks are having a snow effect, and our ground is very green and tan. And in fact, we're going into a desert like thing, and I would like to have sand, and I would like to have dirt possibilities and stuff. So what if we mess with our scale? Well, you can see that our ground actually scales. And we can see that scale all the way that way, and we can scale it all the way the other way. And it creates an interesting new type of terrain. So this is meant to be played with. We have a roughness setting, and I should be able to go perfectly smooth. Let's go ahead and scale it. Let's see what our roughness does. You can see our roughness changes the terrain. I'm trying to create something interesting right now. We can adjust our seed for the randomness, but we have something there. Let's go ahead and check here some of these options, some of the erosion strength and things like this. All right. Now, we'll go ahead and leave that. How about we look at our sky? So we're going to go down to the earth and kind of have a view of the clouds. Now we have a moving cloud situation that creates something. You can see our objects are actually being lightly rendered where the sun is there, and we have our shadows. So of course, if we go up to the sun, we can adjust our sun, as you can see, and our objects adjust, and our sun moves around. Quite interesting and nice. We have almost this desert-like effect now. Quite like something like that. We can also adjust the angle of the sun, as you can see, and we can essentially make the sun set, which is quite interesting. And so I want to go back to the objects for a second. And I want to make our sphere, let's adjust our sphere, sky sphere. Or I mean to say our box is what I wanted to adjust. Let's see. Let's put some light. Interestingly, I'm gonna go ahead and ask it to render right now. And there's a reason why I'm doing all this stuff. Let's go ahead and select our render. Um, and so this takes time to render, especially at the high resolution that I set the program to. But what we should be noticing is that we should be noticing that there's a chrome effect on the bottom sphere, and we can see that because you can actually see the square reflected. And so this is taking our path tracing designs that I've worked on in the past, demos, and actually applying it to this program. And so now what we're having is the lighting, and we're doing path tracing, ray tracing, and we're actually taking advantage of our computer hardware, our GPU, to render this out. Now, the sphere in the sky is actually glass. And so if I request it to change something here, it's going to reset our scene. Let me check on the purple monolith box cube thing and set this to something. I'm curious what the light looks like when it renders. It looks like that. And so we see that light reflecting off of the glass on the top, and it's a very bright reflection on the chrome on the right. This is just going to be like quote unquote endless amount of things you can do. But let's go ahead and do something like that. All right. Now, it always takes a lot of time to render. Not as much as you would think, but this kind of graininess is not very attractive. It takes a while to render, maybe a couple minutes for it to look really nice and beautiful. But let's go ahead and go back to our fast preview mode. And you can see we're stripping away the exotic lighting effects, and we're simplifying the scene, and we're losing the richness of the color and all that stuff. What if we do snow? Do we have a snow effect? We do. So we can add snow just like that, which is quite kind of nice. And have we gone over everything? The clouds. We haven't exactly shown the clouds. Let's go ahead and show the clouds. Let's show the clouds here. Let's see how much you can see here that I have cloud coverage, that I can increase or decrease the amount of clouds in the sky. I can increase and decrease the density of these clouds. Quite nice. And I can adjust the height of the cloud layer. As you can see, we can collapse it, we can expand it, and there's our scene. And since I've kind of exhausted a majority of the settings, let's go ahead and ask again for our path traced final render. And now when we render this scene, um, we can actually save it as an image. So that feature has been working. I think that because due to all the increase in complexity, the program sometimes has an issue handling the rendering and saving. So that I need to kind of revisit and make sure that that works. A screen capture will do just to show what it ends up looking like. Um, but yeah, and so what we're going to have is we're going to have options for like an HDR color adjustment. And so what we should have is filters. What we want to have is camera filters where we can have adjustments to the scene. We can shift things. We can tint things. We can adjust the saturation and the contrast and the brightness of the actual scene visuals itself, different from everything else. So we're gonna have this capability in the future. Um, we're gonna have the ability to do a film grain, and we're going to have the ability to probably adjust the type of glass that we can have to perhaps have frosted glass, so more materials just to round out. And I think that there's an expansion that needs to happen where we can create trees, the rocks that we're going to be able to create, and crystals. So we're going to have crystal forms and crystals. So these things are kind of like the next wave of what's going to be added. But it's reaching a pretty decent place. We're gonna streamline and consider the menus so that our menus are professional. Um, I think I'm going to go away from the blue menu, and I'm going to probably go with a dark, very dark gray and black menu for the menus. And so yeah, so the scene is rendered out now, and that's the program. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it interesting. We essentially can have a very interesting terrain that can cover a lot of things. We want to make sure that we can make our objects as large or small as we want. I think we can make them as small as we want, but perhaps we have a cap on how large we can make them. So we may need some accommodation for that. Another thing I want to be able to do is to create multiple levels of clouds. Right now, we're only controlling one cloud layer, but we should be able to control different cloud layers, and we should be able to control something like the colors of the clouds and things like this. And so um, it's important what kind of background sky color we have, perhaps something blue, something like that. I have to see how that would work. So we can create a horizon and things like this, very interesting effects, um, and a night mode. So we don't have the ability exactly, although we can lose the sun, we can throw the sun away. Um, Now that we're finished and rendered, and you can see that, I want to see if I can actually get this to produce what I want. So I actually want to throw the sun away, but I should have a night mode. And so we have sun intensity, which I can take away. And there's fog that I didn't really show, which is really cool. As you can see, the fogginess really covers the light, which is pretty cool. And so we have a lot of stuff that we can do. And that's about as dark as we can get right now, which is cool for a sunset effect. But I actually want to have night mode, and I want to be able to have a starry sky effect. You can have a dark blue sky, a dark black sky, and then like starry sky effect. And so we can do a lot with that. It'll play with the light and stuff, and we can bring in the moonlight, which we don't have. We have a sunlight, and I think a moonlight will be interesting again to play with the moon and the ability for you to create multiple moons so you can have a 2 moon world or a 3 moon world or whatever you want. So I think we're getting into the surreal, we're getting into the artistic, I would say the deep space ideas. What if I'm on an alien planet? That kind of thing. And so these are the kinds of things that we're going to see. And that's the whole thing fleshed out completely. It takes time to develop, but I think that we're at a very great stable place, and we'll be able to expand out in all these different directions and have something uh, nice to play with. See you next time.